Let's start with the quiz. Did you pick up all that stuff from the last PowerPoint? Which of these is false? Transduction is the conversion of physical energy to graded potentials. Perception takes place mostly in the cerebral cortex. For each of your special senses, there is a unique sensory receptor. Taste is a general sense. Nociceptors are free nerve endings. 4 of those are true. Which one is wrong? Yeah, taste is a special sense. It has its own special receptor, a chemoreceptor on the tongue, a taste bud. Okay, let's talk a little bit about pain. Nociceptors are non-encapsulated nerve endings. These are free dendrites. 2 basic pain pathways. So-called fast pain, carried by large myelinated A fibers. Fast, just because remember those big myelinated A fibers are the fastest fibers in the body. Fast pain, sometimes known as the sharp, piercing, pricking, emergency pain. Somebody stabs you. That's fast pain, all right? Somebody takes a match and puts it on your arm. That's fast pain. That's something that you need to do something with that right now, all right? Stab wound or lemon juice in an open cut. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh. Making margaritas with a cut on your hand, and the next thing you know, you're shaking your hand going, damn! All right? Slow pain carried by small non-myelinated C fibers. Why would you have 2 pathways? Why would you want any pain to be slow? Well, consider. Slow pain, sometimes known as the dull, aching, throbbing, burning, or reminding pain. Not burning like a match, the burning sort of like, chili pepper sort of thing. Slow pain, a toothache, day after an ankle sprain. This is not an emergency, okay? You sprain your ankle, it hurts right when you do it. Then the next day, it still hurts a little bit, doesn't it? But it's not an emergency anymore. You just need to rest your ankle. Your body's just trying to remind you, hey, your ankle's injured. We're in the process of recovery right now, so stay off of it, you dumbass. So that's the point of that, okay? So get it? 2 different kinds of pain. And that would be what do you think? Fast pain or slow pain? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in this picture. This is just what happens when you do a Google image search for pain. This would be the fast pain, okay? Pain, very interesting. Pain is, what even to say about pain? It's an incredibly important sense, because if you're feeling pain, it means something's not right and you probably need to do something. But, on the other hand, we can't let pain rule our lives, so our body has ways of responding to pain, but also sort of suppressing pain. So, tissue injury and noxious stimuli stimulate first-order pain neurons to release substance P, the neurotransmitter of pain, P for pain, even though that's not really what it stands for. That's an easy way to remember. In the dorsal gray horn of the spinal cord, all right, just to tie all this together. Substance P stimulates the second-order neuron to transmit the pain signal to the thalamus. This is all review. Then, descending pathways from the periaqueductal gray matter. Periaqueductal, these are neurons right around the cerebral aqueduct. That's up in the midbrain, up where the monkey face was. They stimulate serotonergic neurons in the brainstem. Serotonergic neurons are neurons that use serotonin as their neurotransmitter. These inhibit the substance P. So what they do is they kind of tone down the pain response. All right. They also stimulate opioid neurons to release endogenous opioids such as enkephalin, dynorphin, endomorphin, all those other ones. So this is the way our body can try to suppress pain. Why would you want to do that? Well, let's say your kid is trapped in a burning house and you've got to get in there and save your kid's life, and the fire is touching you and stuff like that. You can't let yourself be waylaid by the pain that's happening to your body right now. You have a bigger purpose here. So your body has ways of trying to help you survive by suppressing pain that, is not immediately threatening to your life. So those substances inhibit the release of substance P, and in addition inhibit the second order neuron directly, okay? By inhibiting the ascending pain signals, these ascending pathways close the gate. That's why it's sometimes called the gate hypothesis. So in other words, you've got an ascending pathway of pain, and these descending pathways try to shut the gate, at least part way, so that you can accomplish whatever needs to happen. All right, good overall slide. I'm not going to read through it, but it's a good summary of the different kinds of receptors we've been talking about. You should look it over. Let's talk about smell, olfaction. So olfactory receptors are the exposed dendrites of bipolar neurons. All right, they're up there in the olfactory epithelium. Okay, they cover the inferior surface of the cribriform plate, and then the olfactory bulbs are up there on the superior surface. And odorants bind to the receptors. Odorants are little pieces of molecules, it's whatever it is you're smelling. So when you smell a strawberry, little tiny molecules of strawberry are going up your nose and coming into contact with your olfactory epithelium. When you smell dog poop, little bits of dog poop are going up your nose, and that's what you're smelling. And think about what it is to smell a fart, okay? That's what it is. Humans have about 1 square inch of membrane with about 100 million receptors. Dogs have like 200 to 300 million receptors. So you might have wondered before, why do dogs have such a better sense of smell? Basically, it always comes down to how many receptors do you have. It's kind of like the resolution on your TV screen. The more pixels, the clearer the picture, all right? The more receptors, the better your sense is. So dogs, pigs are another animal that have a great sense of smell. They just have a whole lot more receptors than we do. That's why they're better at it. Olfactory neurons, again, the only ones exposed to the outside world directly. They have to be constantly regenerated. They're really the only neurons in your body that are regenerated. There are some neurons in the hippocampus that are regenerated as well. So Benjamin Franklin once wrote a humorous essay titled "Fart Proudly." He really did. You can Google that. Check me out. Don't believe what I say. He did. He wrote other humorous things as well. His idea was farting is naturally so. Just let her rip, okay? And there you go. Yeah, dog poop. Oh my God. So odor thresholds and olfactory pathways. So smell information is carried by cranial nerve 1. We already knew that. The olfactory nerve. Smell has a low threshold. Smell is in a lot of ways a survival thing. Think of how many animals out there rely on smell. Some animals that live in like caves and stuff like that, they don't really see anything. Smell is one of their dominant senses. Snakes. A lot of snakes don't have great vision. They don't really have much hearing at all. That's why they're always sticking their tongue out. They touch it to an organ called the Jacobson's organ or the vomeronasal organ up on the roof of their mouth, and that helps them interpret the smell. So only a few molecules of odorant need to be present. Methyl mercaptan, by the way, is what's added to natural gas. So natural gas, stuff for stoves and stuff, it actually has it's colorless, odorless, tasteless. So the thing is, you wouldn't know. If somebody left the gas on, you wouldn't know. So the gas company intentionally adds methyl mercaptan, and that way, when somebody leaves the gas on, That my wife does that. She'll cook something on the stove. I'll be sitting upstairs, and like a little bit later, I can smell the methyl mercaptan, and I'll shout, "You left the stove on." She'll say, "No, I didn't." I say, "Yes, you did." And then she'll go, "Oh yeah, you're right, I did." No, my wife is right 98% of the time. I'm right 2% of the time. Just want to clear that up. Hyposmia, a decreased ability to smell. You lose, they say, maybe half of your smell by age 65, three-fourths by the age of 80. You ever been into a assisted living facility, a so-called nursing home, and you walk through the door and you smell that and you go, "Oh my God, how can they deal with that?" Well, a lot of the old people are there who can't smell it. So see, it works out okay. Smoking will definitely kill. It basically kills your olfactory receptors, so you greatly decrease. But if you stop smoking, it'll come back. So, anosmia, oftentimes root words with a or an at the front means without, so that's the inability to smell. You wouldn't be able to detect gas leaks, spoiled food, body odor. I told you about that student of mine from a few years back who lost her sense of smell and being trapped in a fire. And she said, yeah, it had a major impact on her life. You wouldn't think that it would. Think about it. You got something in a Tupperware container in the refrigerator. Actually, they don't have Tupperware anymore, do they? Is it all Rubbermaid now? I don't know. I don't use any of that stuff. But, sometimes, you open it up and you take a whiff and you go, "Oh, God, no, this is no good. Throw it out." Yeah, she couldn't tell, things like that. Humans can detect maybe 1 trillion different odors. That's just an estimate. Nobody really knows. However, unlike taste, there's no scientific standard for classifying primary smells. So there's no agreed upon system. So you see there in the middle on the right, this Henning smell prism. Flowery, putrid, fruity, spicy, resinous burn. Remember before I showed that picture of the people smelling the armpits? That's actually a highly trained profession. They make a lot of money. What they do is they do that like for deodorant companies. They have guys put on different deodorant and do 50 jumping jacks, and then they smell under their arms. And they rate it on the scales, like on a scale of, whatever, floury, it's a 3, on putrid, it's a 9, on fruity, it's a 2, stuff like that, okay? So, but again, there's no agreed upon. Different smelling companies have different schemes that they use. I think the people who don't do particularly well in smell school end up smelling armpits. The ones who do really well will go to work for their perfume companies, all right? Smell, the only sense, doesn't go through the thalamus. Ancient sense strongly linked to memories and emotions via that whole limbic system thing. And yeah, when you eat asparagus, it does make your pee smell funny. I've read about this, and actually there are some people that it does make their pee smell funny. And then there are some people who can smell it and some people who can't. So you have like producers and non-producers and smellers and non-smellers. So some of you might not have any idea what I'm talking about. But for others, yeah, when you eat asparagus and you pee, it smells funny. And it actually is. It's like an amino acid or something, like asparagine maybe. I don't know if that's true or not. Forget that. Check it out yourself. Okay, so taste. Gustation, fancy word for it. Chemical substance, chemical sense. Substances have to dissolve on your tongue. That's in part why you have saliva. Substances dissolve in the saliva, and then you can detect them. Taste is about 80% smell. So when you put food into your mouth, the molecules rise up into your olfactory epithelium, and so you smell and taste at the same time. But you'll hear people say things like, taste and smell are the same thing. Well, no, they're not. Olfactory receptors are in your olfactory epithelium, up there in the olfactory, in the mucus up underneath your cribriform plate, whereas taste is taste buds on the tongue. They're completely different senses, okay, but they impact one another. They influence one another. Anosmia has a profound impact on taste. I told you about that girl in my class who couldn't smell, and she said, yeah, food just wasn't fun anymore. 5,000 to 10,000 taste buds found on the tongue, the soft palate, and the larynx. There are 5 taste modalities. For years, they said that there were only 4: sour, bitter, sweet, and salty. And then some Japanese researchers detected the next one. And when you discover something in science, you get to name it. And so they were Japanese. They gave it a Japanese name, umami. And I've had Japanese students in my class before, and they tell me that it's hard to translate exactly. We don't have a good exact English word, but it's sort of a meaty, savory taste, okay? Kind of like a beef stew kind of a thing. They say that's what umami means. I'm just going with what they say. I don't speak Japanese. Some indication maybe there's a 6th one, fatty. That's why, foods that have fat tend to taste good. People like fatty foods usually. Other tastes are a combination of the 5 taste modalities plus olfaction. So in other words, whatever you taste, it's like, like a strawberry. Might be, I don't know, I'm just making up, 33% sour, 2% bitter, 47% sweet, and 8% salty. And your brain just looks at all those signals coming in and says, oh, that's a strawberry. In other words, past experience has taught you that certain combinations of taste sensations correspond to a particular type of food or whatever, all right? So the valate papillae, those are the big sombreros at the back of your tongue. Those have maybe 100 to 300 taste buds. Fungiform have maybe about 5. And the filiform have no taste buds. Those are strictly for texture. Like I said, a cooked spaghetti noodle versus a pretzel. That's what the filiform are for. They detect that texture. A few more things. Gustatory hairs of gustatory epithelial cells that extend through the taste pores. So once again, there are hairs involved here. Hairs are involved in several senses. So these little gustatory hairs stick up, and then the stuff that you eat is dissolved in saliva, and that creates graded potentials. Thresholds for the taste vary a lot between the 5 primary tastes. We're most sensitive to sour and bitter. A lot of things in nature that are poisonous are bitter. And so that's why we have, think right now the face you make when you taste something bitter. Yeah. Yeah, that's because a lot of things that are not good for you are bitter. So bitter normally says, we don't like that. Unless you train yourself. Like, a lot of people drink ale, put the bitters and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you can train yourself to like it, but sort of naturally. Like that little kid in the bottom right there. That's kind of the face you make when you taste something that's bitter, for example. Many natural poisons bitter. Spoiled foods can be sour. That's why we're also very sensitive to sour. Taste information carried by cranial nerves 7, 9, and 10. You already knew that. I hope you made a little card for that. Taste aversion is the avoidance of foods that have caused illness. So that's an important survival mechanism when you think about it. If you eat something and you get sick, you want to remember. So you don't eat it again. All right, there's a very famous story about, I can't remember, it's a bunch of faculty of some sort who all got together for a dinner party, and they had chicken tarragon, which if you've ever had the spice tarragon, it has a very distinctive flavor. I mean, you know tarragon when you taste it. And there was some sort of intestinal bug virus that got passed around that night, and they all ended up, puking and with diarrhea the next day for hours. And they said that for a long time afterwards they could not eat anything with tarragon in it because just the smell of tarragon reminded them of all the hours at the toilet. Now this can be a problem for chemotherapy patients because a lot of chemotherapy makes you sick, makes you nauseated. So you might think, oh, well, you want to eat your favorite foods before you have chemotherapy. No, just the opposite. They say to eat a food that you don't like. I mean, you need to have some nutrition. You need to have some calories in your body for energy. You need to have the glucose, to make ATP. But since you're going to get sick, pick something that you don't really like anyway, and then go ahead and get sick on that. Don't get sick. If you start eating your favorite foods, pretty soon you'll have taste aversion to everything you like, all right? And there you go. That's what it looks like when you taste something you don't like. Or that. Or that. Or that sour. Yeah, isn't that the sour face? I think there's a sour face right there. Little kids eating lemons. It was so fun to do that. I had kids. One of my kids loved it. He loved those lemons. Yeah. I said, Mom, why did you do that? And there you go. And yeah, the before and after picture. Yes, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's funny as hell though. Admit it. Oh yeah. Mom, seriously, how could you give me this deed? I will get you for this. Okay, so once more, until you read this question, you were probably not consciously aware of your clothes touching your body. It means that your receptors responsible for sensing your clothes are what? Tonic or phasic? Think back. You can do it. Yeah, phasic. Sense when they go on, sense when they go off. Don't have to keep reminding you the whole time.